What's going on, everyone, and welcome to episode number 8 of the Overcaffeinated Overqualified podcast with myself, Ryan, and David, or ChefDeMarco. How are we doing this morning, David?
Good, man. Good, man. I'm great. How are you feeling?
Good. The day turned out to be so far better than it was when I woke up.
Nice.
Got a little sunny out, got a little warmer. It rained I think it was probably like 6 or 7 this morning. It downpoured for a solid 15 minutes, and I was like, man, not gonna be able to go for a bike ride now. This is a little awkward. And then give it a couple hours, it dried up, and the sun was out when I went out there. So
that's funny.
It was definitely a lot of fun.
Hard to bike ride in the rain?
No, not in the rain.
Right, yeah, not in the rain. Yeah, it's all wet, and you're slipping and sliding.
So, always the best way to start the day with that.
Awesome, man.
Very good. How was work yesterday?
Work was good. 2 weddings. We served probably 500 people. It was definitely a busy day. I went in about 1 o'clock and got out around 12:30. So it was almost a 12-hour day. I finished up pretty quickly because after I don't like to sit around and kind of waste the clock, I guess you could say, or milk it, because as much as I want to, I don't feel like that's necessary, especially with the amount of hours that I get. It's just more like, let's get in, get out, do the job and move on.
Mm-hmm. How many hours do you usually work?
It's usually up to 40.
Okay.
And then if it's busy that week, it's usually more, and then from then on, it just depends.
It varies, yeah. It depends.
Right. We try not to do OT.
I think I remember now. You mentioning you do get you do have to get 40.
Yeah, it's almost like you just can't not get 40 with the amount of stuff that we do on a weekly basis. If it's a slow week, you still find stuff to do. Still get that hour.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good then. It's always you want to hit, obviously, if anything's your main job, source of income, you want to you obviously want to make sure you hit that 40-hour threshold just to set yourself up for
80-hour work week.
Yeah.
Usually what I base my budget on.
Yeah. If you want to do that. I actually mentioning budgets. I just actually, part of what book I'm listening to and reading right now talking a lot about setting up an automatic financial plan, and the issue talks a lot about budgeting in the sense that it's not really a viable thing or idea in the terms of, so let's say you try to sit down and say, I have this much money here and here for food, entertainment, I don't know, transportation or whatever. When you sit down and say limit yourself to those numbers, holding yourself to those numbers over a long period of time is not only hard, but it's also something that causes a lot more stress than is necessary.
Right. Yeah.
You're ultimately limiting yourself to what you can and cannot do. So if you only have we'll say $10 left in the entertainment budget for the week or whatever, and your friends want to go out to the bar tonight or to see a movie or something, and you only have $10, and that's not enough to warrant going out, and doing that, then you're not going to go do that and enjoy yourself. Versus if you didn't have that budget constraint and you were just able to find that money that you were trying to save in some other place by doing something else. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. And when I say budget, it's more of the word is basically just a word you can kind of base anything off of, because budget could be just budget for everything. Mine's more of a mental budget. Let's say I know what's coming out every month with bills and things I have to pay for.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just try to limit my spending on just things that I don't need. And then from then on, I think about things that I want to do. And I'm thinking, well, do I need that? Probably not. So then I kind of go back and then I look. But if it's something I really need and I can wait a week, I usually wait a week. And then I move on, because there's really no point to buy something right away. You can always think about it, give it some time, sleep on it, and then decide in the morning when you're, refreshed.
Yeah, fresh, clear-minded.
It's a mental budget more than anything. I don't write anything down. I
That's
just don't.
actually when you talked about like sleeping on stuff or something like that, like purchases. I don't know if you've heard this, but a lot of people talk about whenever you go to make like a big purchase decision. So like obviously something that's hundreds or thousands of dollars.
Hmm.
That if you think you need it or want it, like sit on it for like a day, you know, get that fresh mind the next day and be like to allow yourself like, oh, do I really need this? So you get to that next day and it's like, oh, yeah, I guess I really didn't need that, or I'm
Right.
glad I waited because I would have wasted X amount of dollars on something that I didn't end up
Exactly.
needing for whatever reason.
Exactly.
So,
Girlfriend just bought a car yesterday, and I wasn't there to like give any insight or wisdom. And she bought a older car, but it runs great. Supposedly, I didn't get to drive in it yet. But the thing about what I was telling her was, I was telling her, maybe you should have like slept on it, instead of just like going right into it. Maybe you should have like slept on it. Maybe consulted like me or her father. 'Cause she went with one of her friends and her friend's dad, which her dad is a mechanic. So it kind of made sense to do it like that because
yeah.
her dad has the best interests, for her
hmm
from previous experiences. So I mean, I didn't have any issues with like her decision, but I was just saying maybe you could have like shopped around, maybe you could have like
Yeah.
slept on
Definitely
it.
like shopped around.
She was very thrilled, so she wanted to get her first car and she bought it. And she bought it
hmm
right out, so it wasn't like she had to finance it or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely good. Definitely something. It's not. I think we kind of talked about this last week when it came to what like good debt is and bad debt is.
Hmm.
So like depending on like obviously like what you're going to use the car for and stuff like that, and how quick you could pay it off, and like what kind of type of car you get, whether that's new, used, and how old or stuff like that, you know, and just depending on like your situation with it, can explain like if it's good debt or bad debt. Like,
Right. Hmm.
I definitely think now when it comes to like the idea of leasing things, especially cars, that if you can afford, or if you can do the lease like limits that are out there. So like obviously you have to hit under the mileage thing. If you can
Right.
do that, leasing the car for 2 to 3 years is definitely worth not buying a
Oh,
car at all
100%. 100%.
because
Yeah.
it's definitely cheaper. I kind
Hmm.
of looked at I didn't look at it in depth because I'm not in a position where I could even do it, so it's not really something that
Right,
is
because
like
you own a car.
yeah, it's like relevant to me yet.
Right.
But looking at the base overview numbers, they cover for all the maintenance and stuff that happens, so you don't have to worry about any of that, which is a huge part of owning a car, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then the monthly payment is already less, almost half of what you'd pay for a regular car payment.
Depending on your interest rate and how aggressive you're paying it off. Yeah.
Yeah. So like already right there, it's a no-brainer. And then yes, you do have to still pay money down when you do it, but that money down is literally the same money you'd put down if you were to buy a car anyway.
Right. Hmm.
So, it,
I
it,
also
it
think it's weird because you don't necessarily have that equity because it's not your car.
hmm
You know what I mean? You can't like liquidize that asset even if you wanted to, like in
hmm
any way, shape, or form. You can get rid of it, but if you break your lease agreement, there could be a chance that you're losing in the end.
You still have to
But
pay the whatever
yeah,
like the outstanding time is or something like that.
so I leased my car when I went to college. Gratefully, I didn't have to pay for anything when I was going to college because it was like one of those things like it was given to me. Someone else was leasing it for me, and then I just drove it. The
hmm
reason why I bought my car after the lease is because I was like 7,000 over the mileage that you're supposed to, and then you get charged based on per mile after the lease agreement.
Okay.
Because I went to school in Columbus, and I would have to drive back up, and it was just a lot of miles I put on the car, and I ended up buying it, and I still owned it. I still own that car to this day, but I'm paying on it, and I have like 4K left on the loan, which is good because that's like in this foreseeable future. It's not like it's going to be 10 years.
Yeah.
It I think it's going to be like 4.5, I think, because I pay like 250 a month for the car.
Uh-huh.
So like it could be less than 4.5. I don't know exactly, but once I do that, then I won't have to pay a car payment anymore.
Yeah.
It's
You'll
mine.
have like that. I like to think of it. The cars in my family have always lasted like 10 to 12 years. So
Right.
I think if you pay off a car and like, the average is 5 years, if you pay it off in 5 years, you have double the length of that 5 years, so another 5 years
Hmm.
at least to where you're not making any car payments.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
Now,
nice.
yes, you have to pay for upkeep and stuff like that, but at the same time, what are you doing with that money you're saving from not having any type of car payment? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Obviously, you kind of want to have a little bit in case something happens,
Right.
you know, new tires, brakes, rotors, stuff like that. They're expenses that you're gonna have, so you can plan
Mm-hmm.
for it. But like we talked about before, the biggest thing is what are you doing with that extra money now that you're not using it, and that's like
Exactly.
the biggest key.
I totally agree. And then when you buy a car, obviously we both have insurance. I would hope that's
Hmm.
against the law if we don't. We're actually looking at for my girlfriend, like what kind of coverage she should get.
Yeah.
There's usually two types. It's either liability or full.
Hmm.
Under the full tree, you get two things. One's comprehensive and one's collision.
Hmm.
And it was funny because I didn't know. I don't know if you know offhand what those two mean.
So full coverage is like you get paid. So if you cause the accident, we'll say you get paid. They pay the damages on their car, and then you also get paid for the damages on your car. So
Right.
if you have a newer car, you want to get that. So
Right.
if your car gets wrecked, you can be refunded the money basically,
Right.
and
That
basically
would
start
if
out
it
with
was
nothing,
totaled or whatever. Yeah.
no loss in value.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have an older car, you really don't need full because the value of that car isn't worth what they're going to pay you if it like wrecks or something like that.
It would be totaled per se.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, when I was looking it up, comprehensive or in collision, let's for simple terms, comprehensive was if like let's say okay, so collision obviously if you hit a tree,
Mm-hmm.
that's covered. Now if the tree falls on your car, that's comprehensive.
Okay.
So you got to think about if the car's older, which is why you would get, obviously liability insurance. But if you're getting full coverage, regardless, if a tree would fall on your car, like let's say an act of God, like let's say a deer
Uh-huh.
comes out and hits you while you're driving, you
Yeah.
can't help that. You can
Mm-hmm.
obviously stop, but sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's huge where we live anyway. Let's say you're covered, right? Because it's like a act of God. You can't control it. Like a tree falling on your car is,
Mm-hmm.
you can't change that. So those are the two things you get with full coverage. So like let's say you want to just to be safe, but obviously collision for full coverage is if you hit the tree.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah. It's like definitely it's one of those things where it's like it comes down to like the value of the car and how old it is. So like my
Right.
roommate, the car that he was driving before his new car was an older like Honda cars, and he only had the half of the coverage, and a
Right.
deer hit the car and destroyed it to the point where you couldn't yeah it
Totaled, so to
couldn't
say.
fix it anymore.
Yeah.
So there was no reason to like that's a great example of why you'd only pay for half, because you wouldn't have even recouped the money you were paying in the insurance, and then you just get a new car.
Well, the reason why I have full insurance is because I don't own my car, and I guess like you should have full coverage if you don't own your car, let's say
Hmm.
outright.
Yeah, because like you're liable to pay back. You still have to, so like say if you don't have
Exactly.
full and you get into an accident, you have no way to recoup the money, so you'd be
Hmm.
paying it on two sorts of car payments instead of just
Exactly.
one.
It's weird. It's definitely a weird thing. Insurance is good to have. Actually was looking into general liability insurance, brand called Next, because I was doing a demo. We talked about that in one of the
Yeah.
podcasts. It could be out next week or today. I'm not sure exactly when we were going to put that out. But you have to have general liability insurance for things that you do off-site or like just in
Hmm.
general, because usually
Yeah.
you're not covered if you leave the establishment.
Uh-huh.
So I basically decided I had two options. I either get general liability, which is like $25 a month for like a bunch of different things,
Hmm.
and it's more for like profession based, like carpenters, caterers, landscaping. It's just like a general liability. Let's say you
Yeah.
get hurt at work or doing your job, you're covered. It's kind of like life insurance, but different because you're not gonna die hopefully with whatever you're doing. But I needed general liability. I needed proof of that for my job. Whoever was hiring me was like, we need to see this because
Hmm.
let's say something happens, I cause damage or, I get hurt, then we'll be covered, right? So I was looking at it. And eventually we just ended up, my work just covered me through the like 2 hours I was working, which was nice. So I didn't have to pay like a monthly thing because it's a
Hmm.
monthly insurance, but it's very minimal. So it's like $25 for a single person. Obviously, if you're a big like corporation or business, you would need to pay more for your employees. So it's different, but general liability has something to do with just like work and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing when we talked about taxes briefly before, that it's also important if you work for a company, and even if you're self-employed. So if you're self-employed, you have to know what kind of like insurance coverages you need and
Exactly.
like price it out. to like what you're doing. But even when you work for a company, it's important to know what type of insurance your company offers, like what you're covered on, what you're not covered on, and then how much it costs.
Mm-hmm.
Because insurance is another thing where, for at least the company I work for now, when it comes to paying it, that comes out first before you get money. So it's
Right.
something that you're, in a sense, like I don't want to say losing money, but you're losing the money before you can even touch it. So you want to make sure that money is in order, so it's being utilized
Mm-hmm.
to the most effective way.
Right. And I know at 26, I know at least in the state of Ohio, you can't get covered under your parents anymore.
Yeah, that's
Are you
true.
familiar with that? So like I'm like right now, I believe I am currently covered on my mom's medical insurance.
Hmm.
But I know at 26,
Yeah,
you
it
gotta
cuts
start. You
off.
gotta start kind of whatever medical insurance that you need, obviously for anything that would happen.
Hmm. Yeah,
Hopefully nothing happens.
that's definitely a cool way to like you think of like when you think of like kids getting out of school and going to college and stuff like that
Yeah.
and like starting like a life. It's cool that you don't have to worry about paying insurance on your own until after that, because insurance is one of those things that it is, I think, again, something that's more costly than people realize,
Mm-hmm.
like anything when you go out on your own. So, and it's something that you need to, you can't not have it. Well, you can, but then you're paying buku dollars in medical bills and stuff instead of a
Exactly.
fraction of that or a quarter of that.
And it's
So
funny because when you get insurance for like anything, whether it's like life, car, house, renter's insurance, it's like a weird like nothing. Okay, so something could happen, right? Definitely
yeah.
something could happen. All right, but what if nothing does? So you
Hmm.
kind of feel like you're paying into something that like isn't there.
Hmm.
But let's say something does happen,
Yeah.
God forbid, and then you're just like, okay, I have this covered, right? And then you're good. So
Hmm.
you feel kind of better. So it's almost like that peace of mind. I think that's one of
Yes.
the
Yeah.
big insurance companies' slogans, like the peace of mind,
Hmm.
and it kind of you feel good about it. So I can see why people have insurance, and I totally agree. Auto insurance should be state required, or at
Hmm.
least regulated.
Yeah. No, peace of mind is great. I think that's one thing when it comes to like anything. You can relate that back to like when we talk about the financial stuff and like career stuff and everything. Everything that you do is driven by like that need for certainty, right? We talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
You need for certainty. That's one of the six human needs. It's one of those human needs that you got to have. So providing yourself with those things provides you with that certainty, and it
Mm-hmm.
just makes life a whole lot less stressful when you have it.
And it's funny too because when you get like any kind of insurance, I don't know the whole like it's been so long when you start insurance. Like I don't know what it is when you have to start it. Like do you pay a monthly fee at the beginning or like is there like an activation?
For like what? For like so like for me, we pay it's like a monthly thing.
It's a monthly thing, but when you
You just turn it
start
on.
it, what is the
You just enroll in it. There's no
right,
enroll fee or anything like that. You
right.
just
I
start
couldn't
with
remember. And I couldn't remember when you get car insurance like how fast it goes into effect. So I
like
was
right
kind of
away. You
asking
can
that.
call like if your girlfriend were to call today or yesterday, she
Mhm.
could say I need to be insured on this day,
Right.
and it's oh okay yeah. That's and it
Right.
goes into effect like whatever day you say you need to be insured on.
Right. And then
That's
they
why like I
send
don't
you
know
a
if you've
card.
ever I don't know. You said you lease a car, so you haven't really bought in a car yet. But whenever you go and buy a car, you always say call your insurance person before we
Mhm.
even leave the lot to make sure you're insured before we even drive that car off, just in case something happens from the
Exactly.
time you leave there to when you get home,
Mhm.
because anything could happen. And
Exactly.
if you're not insured, you're out a brand new car basically.
Right. And I'm buying my car, but I financed it because obviously upfront it was the loan was like 8,000 left on the
Hmm.
car after the lease agreement. So I've been paying on that for about 4 years now. But I have full coverage. We're good to go. No issues. But
That's
doing it
good.
again with my girlfriend, obviously, it's like you have to relearn it because you don't
Hmm.
worry about it. You
Yeah, you
just
don't
pay
think
it.
about it right away, and there's always like
Exactly.
new things that change, and like I said, when you just don't think about it, you tend to forget things like that, especially when
Hmm.
you've only done it like once or twice. You know what I mean?
Especially at our age, yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely
know.
something.
I know my stepdad though. He has like 5 cars. He has 5 vehicles. One being an RV. So I couldn't even imagine his insurance payments.
Yeah, a lot of different like things there with all
Yeah.
those for sure. I know I've mentioned this before. I've been reinvigorated in the ideas of like finance and like money and stuff like that, and it's definitely something that I've realized. I don't know if I've always been passionate about it. I think I have been because I've been doing a lot of the things that you need to do to like set yourself up. But I've now realized that like it's actually kind of cool to actually learn about things and like be aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm seeing in a lot of different things that people are predicting a pretty big market crash within the end of this year into next year, similar to the Great Depression in 1927.
Mm-hmm.
So like the market factors kind of resemble what happened then, what happened back then with during the 1920s. The market shot up. I don't know. I don't have the percentage off the top of my hand, but it shot up a lot and then it dropped. And ever since 2008, when we had the financial crisis there, the market has literally just shot up in proportion. So we're right at that time where mirroring history, it happened. And then another thing too, I have to link you this video. It's a video about economics that a guy named Ray Dalio did. He's a
Mm-hmm.
big like economics and finance person, and it basically breaks down what economics is and how like the economy works, and it explains like basically like every 100 years you have essentially a Great Depression, like a huge just like reset in the market basically.
Right.
'Cause I guess like I'm not 100% on this. I don't remember 100%, but like as time goes forward, the gap between like we'll say the rich and the poor kind of like expands, and every however long that gap has to like reset, just because of
Mm-hmm.
like how the economy works with spending and buying and stimulating and just how business works basically. So every time you have that depression, that's like when you hit the reset buttons hit and everyone kind of goes back to even in
The
a
normal
sense.
levels.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like a very interesting thing to learn about. And then this video does a very good job of explaining like the basics of economics and like the economy, just how it works, and like it gives you a perspective of even just like how business works when like businesses do things and like why inflation is a thing and all those things. So it's really interesting video. I'll have to link it to you so you can check it out.
Word. Yeah.
But so like I said, I'm seeing a lot of things about how the market's definitely going to crash, and you kind of get that feeling. I don't know if you've ever heard the terms like a bull and bear markets. So that's like the market terms for when the market's going up and down and stuff like that.
Right.
So whenever you have the market going up like this for as long as it has been, everyone knows that it's eventually going to tip and tip down.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we mentioned it before last week or when we talked about the market and stuff, that when the market goes down, that's when everyone starts panicking, and human instincts is people selling, and very few people see the opportunity in that. And obviously when there's a market crash and stuff is dirt cheap, because you know it's going to go back up. That's also the reality of economics, is it's
Mm-hmm.
all going to go back up. That when that market crash finally happens, like there's going to be so much opportunity to set yourself up.
Right.
So
So, do you think it's quick question? Do you think it's going to be better to buy in when it's crashing?
that's the thing too. It's important. I think a lot of people say, a lot of things are being say that the worst thing you can do is not be in the market at all. So you want to get involved to some point. But I think this is kind of cool with what we talked about last week with the having storing your money and having that storage ready, so you can invest in something when you see the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity and you know it's your thing. So I definitely think it's important to have your hand in a little bit, but at
Right.
the same time, if you kind of see that something's happening or going to happen, to prepare for it and have that storage ready to go.
Right.
For example, have you heard of Warren Buffett?
Yes.
I don't. Okay, so I learned has like over a quarter of his assets is the straight cash.
Right.
So when the market crash happens, he can buy up all of that stuff that's dirt cheap,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how he makes it. That's one of the ways he makes his money.
Right. He sits on it and then resells it or does whatever with it after
Yeah,
it goes back up.
yeah. He just holds on to it. His big thing is never selling. He buys and then just holds his investments forever, and
Right.
that's why
But
he
he
has
can
so much money.
liquidate when he wants to.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's like you said, it's all about having like the value. Like his portfolio and asset is valued at over
I
however many
see.
$1 billion because he's the richest man alive. But that's
Mm-hmm.
because that's like what he has control of. You own that. So like you said, you could liquidate it and have it in cash, right?
Right.
But like you said, it's an asset, so it's about you own that. So that's where the money or wealth is as well.
Right. Interesting. Now, when you say we should probably do a whole thing on Warren Buffett because I'm very curious on him and just how wealthy he is because it's like insane to have that much like everything. Obviously, it's not all just money. Obviously, he has a lot of assets, like you said. Maybe we can break down like all of his assets one day. That'd be awesome.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun to talk to you about that. I actually
Yeah.
just watched a video breaking down what talked about the portfolio he has like right now going and stuff like that. And another thing that I've seen a lot of too, I've watched a lot more videos when it comes to like stocks and money investing and stuff. And a cool thing with that is since a lot of people are predicting like a crash.
Right.
I don't know if you know this. I don't know if I even knew this before hearing it, but people are required by law after you have so much invested in like stocks and stuff, you're required by law to disclose your financial holdings.
Right.
So let's say I have like $5 billion worth of assets in the stock market, and my portfolio encompasses however much money or whatever. I have to disclose all those public, like my shares. So if I have 100,000 shares in Walmart, I have to disclose that to the public so they can see that broad like that. So
Interesting.
you can mirror like the wealthiest people's like portfolios. Like, you could find like Bill Gates, like Warren Buffett, people that have all their money in assets like that, the stock assets, and you could basically mirror their portfolios to an extent when it comes to the big companies that they think are successful.
Right.
Or will be successful.
You can use it as like a leverage tool for your
yeah
learning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So it's definitely like a very cool, like a very useful tool and stuff like that.
Almost like a technique as well.
Yeah. You can kind of see if you're like on track or not on track and stuff like that. But talking about that too, I also kind of got finished the book that I finished this week. At the end, it actually broke down. They mentioned the 3 types of income classes. We kind of talked about 2 of them last time, and I before I heard this was under the interpretation that there was only like the 2. So you've got your earned income, passive income, which is what we talked about before. So your earned is obviously the job that you work and what that pays you. And then passive we associated to real estate, which is actually 100% true because that's creating your cash flow and you're making that on a monthly basis. Like that's money that you're making monthly.
Right.
Now, the 3rd type that I learned about was also is called portfolio income. So that's money that comes from stocks and investings, dividends, compounding over time and stuff like that. Just like market wealth growing. Now,
and that's not really your money, right? Because you're kind of investing in it, but you also have some sort of percentage that you're making or losing. You know what I mean? Like with stocks, you kind of have both because you're not always winning, but you're not always losing.
Yeah, and also depends like what you're in. Like, so I wasn't very versed in any of this, honestly. So like some stocks pay dividends. So that's like a company's way of paying its shareholders a percentage of their profits. So with dividends, you can basically picture that to regular income almost. If you have like obviously someone like Warren Buffett who has billions of dollars in a whole bunch of different companies that pay dividends, he's making millions of dollars off of those 50,000 shares. The dividend might be $1, but 10,000 shares times $1 is $10,000. $10,000, and that's how much he's making, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
In that's portfolio
huge.
income, which would then be like passive income. Now, obviously, if you reinvest that money, you don't get taxed on it, but you can withdraw those dividends and you count that as income.
Right.
And you get taxed on it, but that, like I said, so that's another way to build income through your portfolio and stuff like that. And then obviously, if you hold stocks for X amount of time, that stock's going to go up, it's going to go down, like you said, and you can liquidate it to get however much like growth you had. So if you bought a stock for $10, it went up to 30, you sell it at 30, that's $20 profit per share. You make that times however many stocks you bought.
Right.
And when you sell it, you get that after tax, however much money it is.
Totally.
So like you said, like the big thing with that is like you mentioned, like being able to pull it out and liquidating, because you own it like anything, but you have to liquidate it to actually have the cash itself or whatever. And
then it's yours.
Yeah, then it's yours. Whereas like real estate, you said like when you own like properties and it's bringing in money, like you own the property or whatever, own the portion of it, and the cash flows coming in, and so you're claiming that as like your other extra income and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever with that.
Yeah,
But
definitely something to think about,
yeah,
especially when you're like starting off, because you can
hmm
always grow your portfolio over the years. You don't need to
yeah.
start like balls in, but I mean, you can do pretty much anything right away. I know. Can you do? I know. I know Bitcoin's like another whole topic we should probably talk about, but I know you can buy percentages of a Bitcoin.
Yeah, so one thing that I learned too, I wasn't aware of this before either, but with a lot of platforms that you can buy and sell stocks and stuff like that, or
Right.
any type of fund, is you equate it to almost like a dollar amount. So let's say the stock
Right.
is $50, right?
Right.
And I want to invest 75. And I say I want to buy this stock and I want to invest $75 into it. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll buy a share and a half of that stock.
Right.
And then, so like, let's say you're reinvesting your dividends, you
Right.
can set it to invest $1 into buying a portion of a stock that you want to reinvest in.
Okay.
So you
That
just
makes
buy like
sense.
the portions of it, and it's equated to that.
Right, because you kind of get percentages after.
Yeah. So it's all like, so you can buy like half a share or something like that when you pick your dollar amount that you want to invest.
Very
Like I said,
cool.
that's how you can do it in Bitcoin. If you can't like afford your $8,000, you can buy half a share
For 4K
and
and still
yeah,
have the percentage, right?
still have something in it. Now, cryptocurrency is a really weird thing, and I have no idea about that.
Me
And
neither. Yeah.
it's not even really something that I'm interested in because it's something that's kind of more. It's been around for a while, but it just recently like took off and tapered down. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that has that long term longevity that you talk about when it comes to like planning that financial journey that we've
Mm-hmm.
talked about.
Yeah.
So it's on the top of the list of things that like, okay, yeah, we should probably learn this.
Well, do you think it's new age?
I don't know. I really don't know enough about it to even honestly say.
Right.
I would feel like maybe it could equate to that, but at the same time, if you think about the economy and stock market, it's been around for 200 years, and this is around now for a couple years now where it's been relevant.
Yeah.
So I feel like obviously it's like an internet thing, and the internet and technology is only going to get bigger. So maybe it's
Mm.
the future, but at the same time, you're still going to have companies and all that other stuff around as well.
Right.
And so
Totally.
definitely something like if you're into, definitely something to check out. But a lot of people, I think, that are planning like that long term thing aren't really too worried about it right now.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I totally get it.
And it's just like it's a dodgy thing. Dodgy thing. I also wanted to mention this. I realized this too because the book I'm reading now is kind of like everything that we've talked about when it comes to money and finances and like trying to set up all these different streams of income and even like a personal long-term plan
Right.
is kind of like second level planning when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to the idea of personal finance. And the simplest concept of it and way to get people, the easiest way to take action and get people thinking and involved in it is you can be that millionaire that we talked about before, that $1 million number, to
Single
retire
digit.
at.
Mm-hmm.
So like, because you can retire with $1 million, no problem, and you're fine. If you plan on retiring at 60, 65, like that's amazing. And you can do that. And all you have to do to do that is simply utilize your company's 401k plan and utilize the strategy and idea of just paying yourself first, which is
Right.
what the 401k plan does. And if you can do that and don't do that and stay out of debt and do that, you can retire at 65 at most times with over $1 million due to just the way compounding works and all that. So
Right.
that's like the simplest way to frame it. If you just, I don't want to say if you're not ambitious about it.
There's only a couple things though that do compound interest, and I think 401k or like something like that is the one of the only ones that you can get compounding interest off of, because technically your money is doubling over a 40-year time.
Yeah. Well, compound interest comes from like investing. Investments is compounding, and that's
Right.
just the idea of the market and value of everything going up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I
But don't you
wanna
have to
say-
actively buy more shares to get compounding interest off of stocks?
You don't have to. You can hold if you. There's an example in the book. It's like if you buy, if from 15, I think it was 15 to 20, you save $5,000 a year, and you stop at 20.
Right.
So 5 years of saving 5,000. I forget the number, but if you hold that money until 65 and then withdraw it, you have like a million and a half.
Right.
in that account, and that's with only putting money in for 5 years.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
If the stock market goes up.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it's always going to go up,
Right.
and that's the thing we didn't. I don't know if we've mentioned it in depth, but that's why diversification and having a balanced portfolio matters. So then, when it goes down, you only have that -3% instead of 50% like the rest of the market,
Right.
and it's all very possible when you look at it and learn how to balance that stuff out.
Right.
We can do another topic about that as well.
Yeah, I think we should
But
definitely do one all on stocks
yeah,
because I'm interested in learning.
so it's that's like the basics of it, and
Mm-hmm.
I hearing it again made me realize that like I've mentioned to you, like I feel like I wasn't going towards that ultimate goal,
Right.
kind of, but knowing that I've done 10% for at least 2 years now, if not almost three, I'm gonna hit the $1 million mark regardless. And I've realized that I just have more ambitious financial goals than just the million. You know what I mean?
Right. Totally.
I want to be the multi-million or the billion.
Right.
And that's what learning about this other stuff is kind of doing.
Right.
But just by doing the 401k and doing at least 10%, you're going to get to that million mark by the time you retire at 65
Right.
with a decent portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of that's just that's the way it works.
Right.
And the idea of just stressing to people to pay yourself first, have the money 401k, you take it out first before you even have the money, so you know it's going to happen. It's guaranteed.
Right.
And the amount of money you lose in income, you don't even feel it.
Right.
Because you never see it almost.
Yeah.
And we talked about taxes before, and I brought this up. I think we talked about this before when I said, like, if my gross income is $50,000, right? But I'm looking at my net and it's only then like $30,000, right, or something
Right.
like that, because you're paying 30% in taxes, right? 30% of your income in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you can get a pre-tax amount that's paying yourself, you're increasing that compounding factor over time,
Right.
and you're not feeling that taxed amount as much. You know what I mean? Like if you
Exactly.
think you make 50, you only pocket 30. What's an extra 5,000 going to do that's you're never seeing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to even feel it.
Exactly.
So
I totally get it. It's very interesting, and when you don't know, I feel like it's more scary, or like it's more.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but then when you learn about it and you get the knowledge base, it's
Mhm.
simple.
That's the thing too. Like when it comes to like 401ks, is you don't. Obviously, a lot of companies offer those kind of things. Some companies don't, and you cannot. No matter what, you have the option to even do your own. Like if your company doesn't provide, you can start your own IRA
yeah.
account and
Definitely.
do it. But like you said, if you don't know about it, and companies don't educate their employees on it, because it's not. It's a service, yes, but it's not. It's not helping the company at all. You know what I mean?
Right, because
By
sometimes
educating
companies
employees
will
on it.
match, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would assume most companies in today's world do. I mean, mine right now does 4%,
Right.
and I think there's even ways you can get more than that. But 4% of that's a lot of money. That's
Right.
free. That's free money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people don't even take advantage of that
Right.
because you have to be contributing at least 4%. And a lot of people,
Mhm.
like you said, like we mentioned, don't even contribute anything because they
Right,
don't think they can
zero.
afford it or whatever.
Right.
And you're missing out on free money at that point.
I get it. That's very cool.
Yeah. So I thought, yeah, like I said, I just thought that was really cool that I saw those three different types, and like that makes sense now, and why so much when we heard about the passive thing, it was always equated to real estate.
Yeah.
It makes a lot more sense when I heard that there was a third type, and that's where the stocks and investing came. It's like, oh, okay, that makes a
Right.
lot more sense now.
Right.
So that was definitely really, really cool. You missed out on that. That was
Yeah.
last night. There was only probably like 15 people there. It wasn't that much, but
Right.
it was definitely something. It was always cool to see people again. Like that's one of
Yeah.
the cool things with still like anyone who still is like best friends or friends with people that they went to like high school with and stuff, and have like followed them.
Mhm.
But it's like kind of any relationship that you had with people that you knew and like had like a good relationship with, that when you see someone that you haven't seen in 5 years, 2 years, 3 years,
Yeah.
when you see him again, it's like the relationship doesn't skip a beat,
Right.
conversation doesn't skip the beat. It's like there was never that 5-year gap. You can just go back to just talking about how things were, just have the same kind of relationship, and that's like I think what defines like a good relationship, or just something that's there,
Right.
that there's something going on there. So it's definitely really cool.
The only reason why I went, man, is because when I used to go out, I used to drop hundreds of dollars just on a night out, and it was just I don't want to see myself do that again.
Hmm.
And I knew if I would have went, I would have bought shots for everyone, and we would have got drinks. And then I'm just a nice guy when I even get more intoxicated. So I just, for my sake, I just didn't want to be there and have that issue if I would end up buying everyone drinks. And then everyone's got to get home. I just feel worried, and then I'm just like,
Hmm.
I live so close. Everyone can come to my place, but then again, everyone's gonna be there in the morning. And it's just like, man. So it was a lot of thinking I had to do, and I really wanted to go, but at the same time, I didn't want to because I know how I act around when I get into that space.
Hmm.
I know Kendrick Lamar does this new, or not a new thing, but it's like a extroverted introvert. Like I love to be out, but
Hmm.
at the same time, I love just to be chilling in my house. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's just kind of like that. And sometimes I see myself worrying about it if I go into a social environment and then I'm just like not feeling it. I
Hmm.
want to leave, and I feel like awkward in a way.
Yeah.
So I try to do my best on like not putting myself in those situations. But the thing is though, when I want to be in those situations, it's different. So it's like I gotta feel like I want to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You gotta want to like do it in a sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And then working X amount of hours before was probably not
Yeah.
the
Honestly,
best.
honestly, despite you saying even all that about like how you'd see yourself being there and all that, like
Yeah,
you worked 12 hours, you didn't get home till after 1, so like you really didn't like you got to pass,
yeah.
like completely understandable.
And I talked to Corey about it. Corey was funny. He wanted to go, but then I don't know why he said he didn't want to go. But
And I'm gonna
if you
talk to I want to talk to him about that today because
right,
I don't know. I forgot. I thought that you were gonna go. I saw that you like you liked the thing, and I thought that you were
right.
gonna be there. But then when I got there, I was like, oh wait, and everyone was asking, where's David at? He said he was gonna go, and I wanted to see David, and I was like, oh wait, it's Saturday. Yeah, he's
Two
working
weddings,
right now.
two weddings. I
He's
liked
about
it
to be
just to be. I liked it to just get engagement. I wanted to
yeah.
make sure everyone at least was liking it to see like who was gonna go.
Hmm.
I live you know how close I live to that
It's like
place.
5, not even 5 minutes.
I could walk there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a weird situation and work and um, but yeah, we'll definitely plan something with the boys. I talked to Braden about it, and we'll plan something out in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, there's gonna be many more things, and like you said, it's all about just like creating. Like I said, when we start doing the interviews and stuff like that, a whole bunch of people to talk to
I totally agree, and
and talk.
I have
What I mean?
several people.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
great, and like I said, it's only more connecting in the future. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's not. It's great to see where people have come and been, and just like you said, the people kind of are still at heart the same people that they always were.
oh yeah,
You know,
hmm
and I think that's a very unique thing when it comes to anybody. You can attest to that. Is like deep down, people are you usually just about the same person.
right,
When it comes to like who you grew up to be. Of course, certain things matter more now and then than
right,
before, but you still have that same relationship. You still feel the
hmm
same way about things. You're still that same person around those certain people as you always were. It
right,
doesn't.
like high school.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily change. And this is funny too. I know we've talked about this before, just like how it feels like everyone's getting married and stuff. Like
Right,
it's
having kids.
it's. Uh, I would say it's at the marriage thing yet. I don't know if the kids thing is quite there yet.
There's
I'm
a
sure
couple
in a
people
year.
with kids. There's a
Yeah,
couple
I'm
people
sure in
with
a
kids
year
that we've grown up
we're
with.
definitely gonna be saying the same thing as we said the year before about marriage. But it's just like it's so crazy because ever since I got my house and everything happened with my ex, it's just like I haven't even
You don't
thought
even want
about
to
it.
deal with it, right?
Yeah, it's not even a thought in my head.
You've seen it,
Like
right?
there's just so much other stuff going on, so much other stuff that I want to do.
hmm
It's not even a thought. I couldn't even
Some
maybe
people like
because
that though. Some people like commitment, and
yeah.
they like that relationship building. And
Hmm.
when you're married, it's almost like you're a team. So I mean,
Yeah.
it just depends
Oh,
on who
for
you
sure.
are. hmm
Yeah. I think a lot of it, too, drives from like the fear of everything happening again to me. So it's like
Right.
stay in my own space.
Well,
Because we
some
talked
people are
about
very dependent. Like they want that
yeah,
dependability on someone else to
hmm
just have like
bounce off
emotional,
of in a sense.
yeah, physical connection, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it depends on who you are and what
Hmm.
you like.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. It's really like I said. As we mentioned before, as cool as weird it is that it seems like everyone is getting married. It's so cool to see people already like maturing to that sense that they're like ready for that kind of commitment and
hmm
like that
hmm
move forward in their life. because we talked about this when we talked about the whole money side of things, that when you get married and stuff like that, then you start to save for the house, and then the kids
Right.
come, and you have all these
And you want a
long-term,
dog and a
like,
cat.
yeah, like investments and people that then depend on you and stuff like that. And it's a lot. It really is a lot. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
just the commitment to any kind of home is so much when it comes to like the amount value and the
15
amount of
year,
like,
30
yeah,
year.
the time and stuff that goes into and stuff like that. And I'm sure you can maybe agree to this too, but regardless of your relationship with your kids, when you have kids, like, that's a lifelong commitment. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? From the time that your kid's born to the time that you yourself as the parent dies, like, that's that a journey. That's a
Right.
lifelong commitment to making sure their life is better and awesome and great.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, and it's so amazing when you see people like already kind of thinking about that and wanting to make those kind of like commitments, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, to
It's interesting.
things outside of themselves almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool that you went and you have the experience and you can kind of tell me about it and fill me in. So that's cool.
Yeah. Definitely, like, that's not so. I'm obviously, me, I'm not a very like social person
Yeah.
outside
Mhm.
of like my immediate like group.
Right.
So like, I honestly, even something like that is something that like is not in context for me to do, but throughout like,
You want to challenge yourself,
yeah, that, and then like just, yeah, throughout like the stuff that I've been like kind of trying to commit to over the last year, like when stuff like that comes up, if you can make it happen, you need to make it happen. It's just,
Right.
it's good. It's good for you. It's good for everyone else. You know what I mean? And that's what's important about it. You know what
I
I mean?
totally agree.
It's just like it's like when you're able to reconnect with someone who you used to be like best friends with, and that comes out, and you choose to like make it happen. It's
Yeah.
just like a good thing to do.
Right.
You'd rather do it and then have the regret of not doing it. You know what I mean? And
Totally.
just,
Totally.
yeah, for sure. That's definitely like it was cool. Definitely something to look forward to, in the future and stuff like that. And
Hopefully,
it's just all about,
hopefully a little more planning goes into the next one, like and more people come, because then I
yeah.
would feel like I would miss out even more. But with the amount of people that were there, I feel like I didn't really miss out as much, because you can just meet up with those people again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like 20 to 40 people,
Yeah.
then you're like, oh shit, I should have went. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Definitely
So
a
it's
little
kind
more
of like that.
impromptu.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I'm really one to like plan stuff out.
Yeah.
I like to
can definitely see
plan.
that. One thing that was kind of cool too is talking to some people. Like, I always, we talked about this, how podcasts are like really big now, in terms
Right.
of like how many people, like how much the market's grown.
Mm-hmm.
And talking, just because almost everyone like mentioned that they saw our thing and they
Yeah.
really listened to it or want to listen to it,
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, even I just like, it's just talking about podcasts in general. It's just like no one really listens to podcasts. And I'm like, what?
It's
Like,
a weird crowd. Yeah.
it's for how big podcasts are, and just like even hearing that, because we talked about numbers before when you equate it to the bigger picture of things. If you just take the 20 people demographic and say one person out of that listens to podcasts, think of that in the grand scheme of the world, and how big the podcast market is claiming to be.
Right.
So that's still just like even just a fraction of the number of people that actually could be exposed to things.
It's
You know
crazy.
what I mean?
Yeah, it's really crazy.
So it's just like really interesting, and also seeing that the idea of like kind of like the educational side that we're doing,
Right.
that a lot of people like do find it kind of like beneficial, and interesting, especially when
Yeah.
it comes to like the money side of things and finance, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we said, a lot of people aren't educated on it, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to learn about it is very eye opening and gets you thinking and doing.
Right. And then when you do podcasts like us, or we just consume. I mean, I consume podcasts almost every day. Driving, working, just I even do it while I'm doing stuff around the house, because entertainment just in general, like I have a feeling like when I don't do something while I'm doing something else, I feel like I'm wasting my time. So when I maximize the things I do at once, even if it's like a funny comedy podcast, I get more enjoyment out of it than like watching like a movie while I do stuff, because let's say I've seen the movie. But a podcast, there's so many people that are doing podcasts like every day or like every week. There's almost unlimited amount of entertainment, if you can call podcasts entertainment. Obviously you can learn a lot from them. You can have it a laugh. You know what I mean? So it just depends on what your definition of entertainment is.
Yeah, like you said, it's one of those things. Like in the grand scheme of the entertainment thing, there's just so many different things out there that you can like get involved in with it and like seek for it. And the best thing about podcasts too, when it comes to the entertainment side of things, they're all free for the most part.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know any ones that aren't free, to be honest. But then people, what they do is on podcasts, they'll literally just sponsors, ad reads. Yeah. That's how they make their money. They don't make any money off of the actual listener besides the ads that they listen to. I'm not gonna lie, half the time I just skip past them. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be that guy, but like I don't want to listen to 10 minutes of ad reads. I love this podcast, and I will do it every once in a while, but not every single time. Because 10 minutes could be a lot, depending on what you're doing.
That's the cool thing too about we were talking about Audible before the show, and Audible is like a very big sponsor that you see on podcasts.
Oh yes.
Because Audible is very relatable to podcasts in terms of it's an audio version of information that is just regardless of what you're trying to listen to, it's an audio form. You know what I mean? So it's like a great service. Like if you like podcasts, you're most likely gonna find some enjoyment from Audible,
listening to a book, right?
Yeah, and what it offers. And it's just like you said, it's just so much knowledge that you can acquire in anything. You know what I mean? And a lot of people get inspired from podcasts, whether that's like you're listening it for an educational purpose, or people are talking about something that happened to them, and it's something extremely similar to what happened to you, and you get, inspired or changed by it because you're like, oh, they're doing all this now, so why can't I do something cool too? Or,
right.
It's just so many things you can draw from stuff like that. So
exactly.
Definitely really, really interesting. So you had mentioned earlier about this, like, obviously Mixer is becoming more of a platform for streaming.
Yes.
We'll say not only because Ninja got a multi-million-dollar deal with them to basically drive traffic to their platform.
Right.
But I'm assuming there's a lot more of, like, since you stream more, you kind of know about this more than even I care to know and know. But the difference between like what the platforms even offer in terms of like providing like an entertainment value and stuff like that. So like, which one do you think's better?
So I'm looking at some statistics here. Concurrent viewers. This is like from the last Q3 report or something like that they had. 1.11 million on Twitch, 22K on Mixer. So if you think about a general audience, Twitch is unbeatable right now. Regardless, YouTube probably has some sort of pull, but they're not in the running right now because they're more of a video platform. They're not a live stream. But I tell you what, and I know some people know that people do live stream on YouTube, as do I. But obviously, I don't have like the view base that I do on Twitch because Twitch is just more. Twitch is the main platform. It just makes sense more because when you go on YouTube, you don't see any live streams unless you're watching a video of someone that uploads their re-uploads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The thing with Mixer, though, they have this fun thing where you basically, and Twitch is starting to do this now, especially on my channel, there's a thing called channel points. You get points over time for viewing. Mixer has been doing that since the beginning. And they're called Sparks. They're called Sparks on Mixer. And it's basically like a it's basically just like not a money. It's not a monetary value, but it's almost like a site monetary value. So like you can give 4K credits or Sparks to the viewer, and you can gain like on the leaderboard. So like you look like you're the most viewed or the most viewing, viewer. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. And there's like different stickers. There's a bunch of different stuff on Mixer, and they also have this thing where it's called the hype zone. It's for games that have like top 10 or top 20 or top 5. So it's like revolving. It's a revolving. Door. Basically, yeah. So let's say like you're in top 5 situation in Fortnite, you get put in the hype zone potentially, not 100%. And then when your time's up or you win the game or die, it switches to someone else that's in the same situation. So it's kind of have like this weird community thing where like you can get views playing games like that and get into a top 5, top 10 situation. So there's different things that they're doing that are more engaging in a way. Twitch chat's like the only thing that Twitch has for engagement. Obviously, you can dono bits, stuff like that. They've been adding stuff over the years.
A lot of that over the time.
Right. And then with their affiliate or partnership with Amazon with Twitch Prime, all those rewards that you can get from them, so that helps. I mean, in general, what I do right now is I stream to all four. Well, all four including Facebook, but I don't stream my video game content to Facebook because it's kind of like a personal thing, and no one wants to watch video games on Facebook unless you obviously are on Facebook, because Facebook has a totally different live stream setup, and there's a viewership or a viewer base on Facebook for video game live streaming, but it's nowhere near YouTube, Twitch, or Mixer, because it's just Facebook. It's not a normal thing right now. But eventually down the road, maybe it'll get popular. But I don't go on Facebook to watch live streams, in my opinion.
Obviously, Twitch was the only thing that was ever around, so it was one of those things where they found a market and then they controlled the market. So that's why they have so much of the market share right now.
Right.
So obviously, Mixer was smaller and came on after.
Right.
But Mixer is owned by Microsoft, so Microsoft has the ability to pour a lot of money in the terms of investments into it to help grow it. So
the R&D.
Yeah, it definitely could potentially reach to the level of Mixer, especially since you mentioned with the interaction with the viewers and stuff. It has some of those it had some of those more niche things first.
Right.
So that's definitely something that's on the side of it.
Yeah.
Versus somewhere who now has to adapt to those things. I think when you mentioned that, how Mixer always had that, and then you said Twitch is doing it now, it made me think
for some channels.
Yeah.
Not everyone has it.
Yeah, it made
More
me
of a
think
beta
of.
test.
It made me think of when I compare battle royale games and stuff like that, and how they always seem like they're stealing things from other games.
Right.
It's when Apex came out, its big thing was the ping system.
Right.
And Fortnite and other games had that, but literally a month after Apex came out, Fortnite had a ping system.
Yeah.
So it's you're adapting to the market.
Non-verbal communication.
Yeah, seeing what people like in a game and being oh, everyone's freaking out about this. We should probably put that in our game or in our platform, so we don't lose people to the new platform to have that.
Totally.
So it's all about that, overcoming the market basically, and just keeping up to date with it. So
right, trends.
Really cool. Yeah, trends. There you go.
I like it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Next week we're going to be covering doing another kind of video thing. Not going to play anything from it, obviously, we've had in the past, but we'll just talk about it,
right,
and go through the points and stuff that they hit. So that'll be interesting. So look forward to that one on the next one. And then I also wanted to hit on this, just kind of talking about how we talked about basically just knowledge in general. We obviously equated a lot of it today in the forms of finance again, but always remember that knowledge is important, but the power lies in the action you take when you do it. I think a lot of people, especially now, equate knowledge to power. That's what you hear. But knowledge isn't power unless you actually take action on what you know. You could read all the books in the entire library, but if you don't do anything with that knowledge, you have no power.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
I can't. When you say it, after you actually accept that and understand that, it just sounds so simple when you say it. And you're just you find it hard to believe almost that some people can't grasp the idea behind it.
Right.
But it's kind of like anything when you say you have to say things, but until you put action behind your words, what you say really doesn't mean anything. It's just it's kind of it's like that. You actually kind of have to do things to have action behind it. And it doesn't matter how big the action is, you just have to start somewhere. We talk about that a lot, especially when it comes to this idea of getting your money in order. You have to start,
Right.
Whether that's even just learning, whether that's $100, $10, just start on something. And eventually it's going to grow and it's going to come to whatever you want it to be. Just like a business or a side hustle or anything. Just start it, and eventually it's going to become what you want it to become if you continue to learn, grow, and work hard at it.
Put energy into it, and it will grow.
Energy. Yep. No,
I messed with it, man. That was a good quote. I like that.
Yeah. So, David, where can everyone find us at?
You can find us on every social media platform: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Our links are on screen, but if you're not watching and listening, Facebook is Overcaffeinated Overqualified, Twitter is Overqualified, YouTube is Overcaffeinated Overqualified, and finally Instagram is Overcaffeinated Overqualified. Also, you can find all of our social links for us on our fan link, as well as we are on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Basically anywhere you can find podcasts, you can listen to us on your go, on the travels, on your phone. But finally, as well, if you like what we're doing, please rate us 5 stars, comment, leave some feedback on the different socials. We would love to hear from you. The last thing we're going to talk about is a music sponsor, kind of, not really. We're not getting paid or anything like that. We're basically just cross promoting. It's someone that we know, at least I know, of a music producer / group. They are Rhythm and Flow. It is Vinny K and Charlie Tripp. We are going to be playing them at the end of this podcast, do as an outro. But you will also be able to find them in our description box for their fan link. You can listen to them on Spotify, Apple Music, and this one called Title. It's a new one that's out right now. But we're going to finish it off, and we're going to play their music. Ryan, anything else?
No, guys, thanks for tuning in and listening. Check out Rhythm and Flow. They're going to be providing some music with us, for some of the intros and outros. So check them out. Let them know what you think about their music, and let us know what you think about the show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Have a good day, Ryan. Enjoy your movie.
Emotion, I'm hoping we're cool. I can't help but feel I'm hopeless. Leave it all for you. Leave it all for you. I can't help but feel I'm dreaming, I'm falling.